Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever it is in the world you are streaming here on Twitter, as well as those of you joining us on Prophet X's YouTube channel. I did not have plans to go live tonight. It's a Saturday. I thought I might get out of here. I'm going to need a hat for this one, as I obviously need a haircut. Let's go back to because this is going to get a little loud and rambunctious. That is a game. Very rare for me to do a stream after an individual game, one game. How much just happened in the last hour and a half? Got a lot to get off my chest after that one. I'm sure you guys do too. Give you a second to join the chat. Let me get my technology right. Oh my God. I don't even have a dog in the fight. I guess I technically do because I have no clue who to fucking root for. As a New York Knicks fan, who are you rooting for in a game like that? Holy shit. I didn't even think about this from a Knicks perspective. Bear with me. I'm not prepared to talk. Usually before I do a radio show, I go hawk up a couple loogies. I do the out now brown cow like Ron Burgundy. I just hit the go button. And this is all meant to be like off the cuff, off the dome, whatever you want to call it. When this game started, the back of my brain was telling me, you want to play the 76ers because you can't trust Joel Embiid's health. You also get home court advantage. But after watching Game 7, I very quickly started to change my mind, especially if Jason Tatum's not going to be available or he's banged up too. Do you want to go up against a team that has a basketball Godzilla down there on the block, has a franchise cornerstone in Tyrese Maxey, who now is just superstar, no hyperbole here. He was previously an all-star, a superstar in training. He's a superstar. He's the fastest guy on the planet with the ball in his hands. And if he didn't blow that one little bunny with his left hand that came off the rim, which was eventually the Edgecombe interference call, if he finishes that, Maxey left everyone in the dust. I felt like I was watching an episode of The Roadrunner against Wile E. Coyote. And they have some stout perimeter defenders. This entire Celtics team is built on the point of attack, both offensively and defensively. They have guys that are supposed to be able to stay in front because you don't have that anchor down low. Tyrese Maxey, his ability to finish at the rim, now that I have your attention and the world has seen it, said it late at night, but my thought process has not changed even when sober. Tyrese Maxey's ability to finish at the rim is now a combination of Kyrie's skill with John Wall's power and speed. He's got John Wall's speed, power, and Kyrie's technical finishing ability. The way he spins that shit up off the glass. His mindset knowing when he attacks the rim. He already has it pre-planned when he goes up and under and throws that shit like this off the top right corner of the backboard sometimes, over the top of Kada, over the top of Jaylen Brown, who had to play small ball 5 tonight. How many shots can Tyrese Maxey hit amongst the trees where there's no whistle unless you can show blood? Pelican Bay rules in effect. Maxey to close out the fourth. And what a perfect balance of Joel Embiid getting them to the point and building that double-digit lead, taking advantage of what happened at the beginning of the third. Oh my God, there's so much to go over here. Chat, okay. I have this bad habit, chat, of just, would you prefer me just to everything off the top of my mind, or do you want me to respond to questions? Let me do that real quick first, and then we'll start with the starting lineup. We'll go to what happened at the beginning of the third. Then we start getting Brown versus Embiid in a one-on-one King of the Hill match. Then we get the biggest calamity of a challenge coordinator on both sides that you will ever see in it. This is a Game 7. And neither side didn't, the 76ers didn't know the rule. And the Boston Celtics challenged a call that was so egregious. And you can see the guy saying, challenge it. And then what's his face? The guy from Duke standing up going, no, like watching your golden retriever run into the street to get the tennis ball. No, Joe, no, don't do it. And it was too late. on that challenge, by the way, because most of you, I assume, are watching on NBC. I'm watching on International League Pass, so you get to see the TV timeout from within the arena. It took quite literally 7 seconds of them putting the headset on, and then you hear the guy go, I forgot his name, goes, challenge is unsuccessful. And then it took another 2.5 minutes to come back from commercial. Oh my God. And I went, now many of you know me as a Knicks fan, I went from wanting the 76ers to win this game till I'm like all about the Celtics, because this math equation now has failed to the point where this is not only the death of their season, it is a death to a style of play and offense, which has revolved around a math equation for quite some time. And they won a championship with it, so you can't come out and say this shit just never worked. No, it did. And you can never take a championship away from these guys. But to watch the Celtics brick open three after open three after open three after open three after open three. I'm not exaggerating. How many open threes can you possibly brick? And I never want to hear again for the rest of my fucking life about open 3-point percentage out of the corner. You know why? It's the most efficient shot in the game. I understand that, because clearly the magnitude of the moment has something to do with the accuracy of those shots. Whether it is Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, all exhausted from the game, the pressure of a game 7. I don't ever want to hear about how open threes are a more desirable, optimized form of basketball ever again. Because when the pressure is on, these are human beings on the floor, despite being the best in the world at their craft. And if today was any sort of evidence that even the ones who are used to getting up 50+ threes a game, Derek White stepping into in-rhythm practice gym threes that he's probably attempted 50,000 times this season, considering how early they show up to the arenas, how many times they show up during the week to just get shots up during the offseason, during the games, the preseason, and the playoffs. 50,000 times, I bet Derek White has attempted a three-pointer in the last calendar year or two. And to just watch that shit brick over and over again when the math tells you it has to go in. No, it most certainly does not. It does not. When you have reckless closing out, the Celtics crowd is shaking the fucking camera. How are you ever supposed to prepare for that? And because game 7s only happen once every blue moon, and certainly not the 82 times during the regular season, and only once during a playoff series, it's a very small sample size of what those corner threes and their efficiency look like. You will never be able to get a sample size that's equal to the regular season, where a lot of those fucking numbers are juiced up because you played the Wizards or the Jazz or some shit. I don't ever want to hear it again, that this style of offense can win you a title. Not anymore. It did work for the Celtics to get there in the first place. But now that teams have a couple seasons experience, also teams trying to replicate what the Celtics do, you can game plan for it. It was brilliant at the time. The math equation did work, but like any good poker player, they will adapt as the table turns over throughout the night. When people start drinking, when there's new players, when people start getting felted and tilted, you can't just go in there with the same system and assume it's going to work before someone just took a shot of tequila, right? The NBA has adjusted to this. It is the end, mark the time of death. May 2nd, 2026, 7:22 p.m. Pacific time. The death of Missoula ball math equation basketball. Now, is it different if Jason Tatum is out there? Most certainly. I am not going to sit here and say that the Celtics weren't put at a disadvantage without his presence tonight. Because even coming back from an Achilles injury where no one is ever the same, he has still shown us glimpses of what made him so brilliant. and spacing out 5 out, 0 in when you have a Jason Tatum to take someone else off the dribble besides just Jaylen Brown certainly adds an advantage. But what we have seen from Peyton Pritchard this year, what we have seen from Jaylen Brown en route to an MVP campaign, he's not going to win, but he was in consideration for a reason. They have proven to us all season long that they just don't need Tatum's presence to win basketball games, but you need him, and you need a way to get buckets at the rim in a game 7 against a team of this quality with someone in a defensive anchor that has been there so many times. This is the first time in a long time where a team that was getting layups and 2-pointers had an advantage over a team that was taking wide open threes. Because on paper, the wide open threes team should always win. 3 is 150% of 2. And most of the time, the Celtics do win. And their thought process is, since the NBA playoffs is a best-of-7 series, we don't think that you can outscore us at the free throw line and in the restricted area more than the amount of threes that you're going to have to make up for that we hit throughout a night. And they just got proven wrong. Their final scores have always been volatile. Always. The Celtics can win a game by 45 and lose to the same team the next day by 30. And they've shown us that in this series. When you live by the 3 and you die by the 3, you get some really swingy differentials. But I am now telling you today, considering the magnitude of the moment and how it affects the human being for 2.5 or 3 hours, I don't think that you can go into a game with that style of offense the same way that you do during the regular season or the first couple games of a series, where it is much more relaxed with the team knowing we lose this one, our season's not over. There's just some human element tonight that got exposed on a team that, once again, is the best in the world at being prepared to get up the exact shots that they got. I don't want to hear without Jason Tatum, man, we couldn't break down the defense and start the merry-go-round. All they did tonight was get open looks. They don't even look half the time to Neemias Queta, who's setting screens and rolling to the rim. He had VJ Edgecombe on him for an entirety of that first half, and it wasn't until close to halftime that they started to finally feed him. All they're thinking about is drive and kick, or if Jaylen Brown doesn't see the help come, then I will be the one to get this shot up. It is so incredibly frustrating to watch as just an objective basketball fan that they have tunnel vision on this exact style. I guess I did yap. I'm sorry. First comment I see is from Zoom in the chat, who says they kept a 7-footer on the bench for the whole game, deciding that guarding Embiid with Brown was a better choice. Now, that was not that necessarily wasn't by choice. I got to turn the fan on, guys. Sorry, I'm getting fucking hot and steamy. So putting Jaylen Brown on Joel Embiid when they were going, yeah, boy, was that fucking cinema, by the way. Joel Embiid looking down, and he's like mouse in the house, barbecue chicken going right at him. Jaylen Brown was like in a football stance in an Oklahoma drill, making sure he couldn't back him down. Drop step, free throw, lay it in. Then Jaylen Brown hits him at the other end. I think Jaylen Brown blocked him once. That was such authentic competition, and it wasn't performative. It wasn't like a rivalry because someone left the team. It was just, I know you're the team's best player. I know you're the franchise. Let's just fucking go, drop gloves and go at it. The Celtics had an option to put Vooch on the floor if they wanted to, and they chose to stay small. And I understand the intention for that, because if you're going to commit to this whole 3-point game, you might as well go with just Jaylen Brown at the 5 and try and drag Joel Embiid out into the deep end where he was going into drop coverage for 3 straight hours. They were letting the Celtics walk into those open threes because Joel Embiid just does not have the foot speed or athleticism anymore to hedge and stay out or switch. He has to go into drop. And the result of which is just very simple pick and roll action sometimes that led to step in threes. Miss, fucking miss all over the place. So if you go back in hindsight, would Joe Mazzulla put in Vooch to defend Joel Embiid when Jaylen Brown was getting eaten alive down there to the point that the gravity was the entire city of Boston was collapsing on top of him? I got to show you this guy's picture. Show you a picture of this shit just because there was a comment. Give me a second. I want to put this on the screen because this is the type of gravity that a star like Joel Embiid will have in his prime against a team that doesn't have a matchup for him. Check this shit out real quick. Okay, so this is the moment where Joel Embiid is ISOing Jaylen Brown. You have Paul George, Edgecombe, Maxey, and I assume Oubre off of the screen. And the idea here is we're going to let Embiid cook because we know he has such a mismatch with Jaylen Brown. But look at the Celtics defenders all have an extra step near the paint, or even Derek White in the paint to help in the event Embiid puts the ball on the floor. The command could be coming from the bench. Send the double once he puts the ball on the floor. Because until he does, that's triple threat position. Anyone who's played basketball before, what's triple threat position? That means you get to dribble, pass, or shoot. If you start dribbling the basketball, it takes away one of your threats, right? So the command from the Celtics bench is to wait, but you have to be in the vicinity because it's going to be too late when you send the actual help. So now you've got these little munchkins out here with two guys on the elbow, one on the block with a full foot inside of the block in the paint, and then Peyton Pritchard, oh no, hovering around as a free safety. Joel Embiid did not fear a single one of these guys, and this happened for what, 5-6 straight minutes in the third quarter? You know why this happened? And why the Celtics defense looked like this? Because once he collapses, Joel Embiid wasn't just forcing it up. He kept hitting wide open shots out of the corner. George, Edgecombe, Oubre, it didn't fucking matter. Even Maxey hit a couple. And now all of a sudden, they are replicating what the Celtics do so well, and all of those advantages have been nullified because you decided to go small against Joel Embiid. So now the Celtics are just shooting to keep up when they are usually the pace horse, setting the pace so that the 76ers have no choice but to start chucking themselves. By going small, it enabled the Philadelphia 76ers to essentially become the Boston Celtics, but with a dominant post threat. And that's what ended up being the difference here. Because Nikola Vucevic cannot be on the floor. He cannot dominate physically the same way that Joel Embiid can. He also can't defend. He can't hardly do anything. All he has is Kevin Durant complimenting his skill 7 years ago on Twitter. That's about what he brought to this series. But do you guys understand the importance of gravity in today's game? It is now by far the most important currency in a pace and space era. Because in pace and space, the Celtics had the right idea originally. 5 out, 0 in, or 4 out, 1 in with an anchor like Kata. And then that anchor also sets screens. The idea is create as much space as possible for your two all-NBA guys in Tatum and Brown. A lot of other teams have similar type of styles. But this allowed the Philadelphia 76ers to do it themselves. And how did we get here in the first place? Why do the Boston Celtics not have a single forward on the floor with the exception of a small forward in Jaylen Brown, who's practically a shooting guard? How did we get here? I am pointing the finger directly at Neemias Queta. Despite his brilliance in the box score, he had some nice moments getting offensive rebounds and finishing. Neemias Queta and Luka Garza put their team at a disadvantage that they could never come back from by getting those two incredibly stupid and egregious fouls at the beginning of the third quarter on Embiid, 75 feet away from the rim. You have absolutely no excuse or explanation as to why you should be reaching in when a guy that you are defending is a walking, breathing operation board. For those of you that are Zoomers, Gen Z kids that don't know what operation was, it was this Milton Bradley game where you have to remove bones and like these little plastic pieces without touching the sides because the loudest fucking buzzer in the world goes off if you do. It's like playing doctor. And when you play a game of operation against Joel Embiid, he's going to flail. He's going to emphasize and embellish the contact. And they put the referees in a place that they had to blow the whistle because they kept reaching. Now you have Keita off the floor. Now you have Garza off the floor, and you're left with this for an extended period of time where Philadelphia was able to stretch the lead to double digits so that if the Celtics avalanche of threes where they start trebucheting shit over their heads, when they start to fall inevitably, we have a little bit of a pad. And that's exactly how they survived the Celtics coming all the way back with that crowd feeling the gem. Here they come. No, man, that was just a tie. And then when the game slows down into the half court in the final 5 minutes, because game 7 is a different sport from the playoffs, and the playoffs are a different sport than the regular season, there is one guarantee in today's game, and it's that it's going to slow into half court sets where your star is just going to have to make the most incredibly difficult ISO set, handed a grenade out of a dribble handoff play in the world. I'm sorry, it's just the way that it goes. I know everyone wants an ideal look where you dribble, penetrate, you kick, and you step into these threes. And while Boston certainly had plenty of those opportunities to their credit tonight, we knew that the star power was going to be necessary. And the 76ers were able to survive the comeback because Celtics never took the lead. They never had more than a one-possession lead. And now we can start to really lean on Embiid and Maxey to go get us those tough hero ball buckets. And boy, did they deliver yet again. What an exhausting fucking game. Now, I have it too much. The starting lineup for Joe Mazzulla is just simply inexcusable for a couple of reasons. I was trying to think of why he would do this and to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a championship coach, right? He knows what he's doing. He didn't win a championship by accident. Who's the guy with the backwards hat that's sold out to all of these different sponsors that's sitting here trying to teach this guy how to play basketball? I clearly, he's more experienced than I am, but I also can understand what his thought process was. By starting Harper, by starting Shireman, by starting Garza, what his mindset, or at least what he was thinking in the back of his brain, was that I'm going to send Garza out there to put in early work against Embiid so that I can start to stagger Keita's minutes so that he doesn't get into immediate foul trouble and disappear until the 6-minute mark in the second quarter, like he's had to do in previous games this series when Embiid is the master of getting his defensive assignment out of the game. And then if I need these guys later, they will be warm, right? Because we know the Celtics have had deep rotations all season long with the Tatum injury. Everyone's gotten a look. Even Hugo Gonzalez was a big contributor during the regular season. Let me get these guys touches early so that if I need to tap into them due to foul trouble, they will be ready to go and they won't just be ripping the warm-ups off. They'll at least have a little lather and some experience and not be as afraid of the moment. If that's what his thought process was, okay. But it was such a travesty from the start that I was thinking the same way that when like Duke and Carolina play each other in college, the final game of the regular season, it's tradition for the seniors to go onto the floor to do tip-off and play for 2 minutes. But man, when you got like a number 1 Carolina versus a number 2 Duke, and there's NBA players all over the place, and the score all of a sudden is 8-0 because that team decided to play, like uphold tradition and give those future car salesmen a couple of minutes so that they can tell their children one day, I played in Duke, Carolina. I respect tradition, but at some point the coach has to just pull the plug on that and get the real lineup out there. And I thought Joe Mazzulla waited a little too long because it was 6-0, 9-0 out of the break or after tip-off. How long were you going to let that ride? And he let it ride for nearly half of a quarter. And I just thought you could never, ever go to that lineup again for the rest of this game. And the Celtics never recovered from it. If Garza, someone in the YouTube chat is saying, I agree, his plan was to send out Garza and Gonzalez to hack Embiid and rack up fouls and get him a little banged up physically. If Embiid in those first 6 minutes is going to be out there as fresh as he possibly can, and that's when he's doing the most of his, I don't know if it's foul baiting, but he clearly has an initiative to get guys out of the game. Let's have Embiid waste his minutes in his play on guys that are expendable for us, and then we'll put in the real lineup headed towards the second quarter. And if we can somehow weather the storm and keep this close and maybe hope that our home crowd can really inspire role players who always play better at home, I understand that's probably what he wanted to see happen. Because if I just keep this a one possession game, 9 minutes into the first quarter, and then I start to send in Hauser and Pritchard and Cada, they all have 0 fouls. They have 0 wear and tear, 0 miles on the odometer. That would have been a long-term play that he would have just kept those guys out there for the rest of the half. They would have had low minutes going into the second half, and then you see the vision play out. I don't know how many of you watch NASCAR, but if there's someone trying to hold on to first place, you'll hear a pit crew tell the driver, save your tires, don't drive as hard. We're going to need the grip on those things when second place really starts come charging up. Save your tires. Joe Mazzulla was probably thinking, save your tires. It just did not work. The lead horse got too far away. And then finally, I'll save the best for last. I apologize to the chat for yapping. I know every time I come in here and say this is a live Q&A, but there's so many things that fucking happen. Even before we get to the individual brilliance of a guy like Tyrese Maxey or Jaylen Brown, because there was just so many performances of elite basketball and creativity on the offensive side tonight. What happened with the challenges is inexplicable. This is the importance of having a replay coordinator that can handle these pressure moments. Your favorite team, everyone has one. Every team has a replay coordinator. It's someone who's sitting there with an iPad, looping that stuff back every 5 seconds, and they give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And now it's going to be, because most fans don't understand, like a lost challenge, they'll blame the head coach for that, right? Like, oh, Joe Mazzulla's so bad at these reviews. He doesn't see the shit that I'm seeing on TV. 99 out of 100 mainstream sports fans, only the real NBA sickos, know that there is a very specific coordinator, assistant coach role for thumbs up, thumbs down. And when the wrong instruction is given, it can completely fuck up the rest of the game. And what happened tonight on both sides, I would consider, I don't even know which one is worse. So let's start with Boston's, and we'll go in chronological order. One of the most obvious calls that the referees got correct, foul call, the whistle's blown. And then when we come back from commercial, by the way, they showed us the replay of the bench realizing, oh, fuck, I just saw the second angle of it. I'm wrong. And it was like panic, retract, try and get that back. For someone to fuck up that bad, the domino effect that it had on the rest of the game, because it occurred before the 2-minute mark and it occurred before the 3-minute mark. So not only does Boston lose their challenge, which they may have needed if this game went to overtime, this was a 1-point game, 1-possession game for an eternity in the fourth. You lose your ability to challenge. And that is, imagine the referees fuck up like they did in the first half, where Nick Nurse had to use his challenge on the most obvious out of bounds call that Tyler Ford was standing right on top of. And Nick Nurse is like, you're kidding me. Now I have to use a challenge because you fucked up this bad. And I'm only left with one. What if the referees would have fucked up in the final 15 seconds because someone wasn't in the right position and this obvious call that we see is messed up by the refs? You're going to need that challenge, right? Now, if you don't have one, you're just completely fucked. They lose their challenge, but more importantly, they lose their use it or lose it timeout. Boston does not have their use it or lose it timeout, which means they had 3 timeouts left. And when that clock, the game clock, gets to 3 minutes or 3:01, 3 minutes, 2:59. As soon as it hits 2:59, the use it or lose it timeout goes away no matter what. Now you don't have your use it or lose it timeout. And in a game like this, where every offensive possession obviously matters the most in the final 5 minutes, but when we get to the clutch, everything is played in the half-court set. And the luxury it is to be able to call timeout, go to the whiteboard, and draw up an ATO on something like this, to draw up a play to get you the highest quality look possible, where you're not just calling a very basic set that everyone knows what it is, and you're dealing with the chaos of the crowd. You would get to, like in football, huddle up. That luxury is gone. And for a team in Boston that desperately needed, without Jason Tatum, an ability to get a set or a formation and deploy those tactics, that option was gone. So they just have to go out there and freestyle and improv. Then we get to the Sixers challenge. Because they won tonight, I don't know, and I'm doing a live show, so if I'm saying something that eventually gets proven otherwise because they talked to Nick Nurse and they talked to one of the players, I reserve the right to change my mind. But I am about 99% sure that Nick Nurse calls the timeout, review that shit. And you can tell because Maxey was like, he hit me. And then you see Nick Nurse going, hit him on the arm. Make sure you see that on the replay. He hit him on the arm. Here's the problem, is that the referees ruled very clearly offensive basket interference. They did not rule out of bounds. The proximate foul rule, those of you that don't know, a proximate foul can be reviewed when a ball goes out of bounds. So if a ball is knocked out of bounds because someone swipes the shit out of someone's arm, they can review that and say, not only is the other team's ball, but there's also a foul. So you can see the Sixers going like, check for the proximate foul. But you can't review a proximate foul on basket interference. That review, if the first one took 7 seconds, this one took 15 seconds. And then Nick Nurse is like, wait a second, you can't go look at that? Even if I reviewed, they didn't know the rules. And now all of a sudden he's lost his last challenge. He's lost his use it or lose it timeout. And this is just fucking chaos. Both benches either didn't know the rules or premature jacket challenge happened, that someone saw an angle and then they saw the second angle and they're like, no, I'm sorry, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Game 7, man. This is what Game 7 causes. Just instinctual decisions. And to see this happen at the professional level is, I think, why it's such fascinating theater, that these guys who are so perfect at everything for a majority of the regular season, they are so much better than everyone in the world at the college level, international level. These players are so good at like offense and shit, man. But to see them have these moments of human error, even on the coaching staff and the employees, the coordinators, and how important. I know ultimately the 76ers won, but I'd be saying the same shit about them if they lost the game, because they too lost their ability to set up one of those crucial inbounds passes to Joel Embiid where they could have set up the perfect, ideal ATO to get that man the basketball on the block. They didn't get that, so we just kept playing and playing. Every minute felt like a fucking movie tonight. Okay. If I've missed anything in the post-game press conference, now is the time. I am out of juice. I'm now going to read some comments. There's 100. I got to catch up on 133 of them. So if you would like to ask a question, now would be the time. $13,000 of you in here right now. So forgive me. Yes, off the dome mob. I'm trying here. Watch it. Everything you just heard from me is what I was saying to myself in this dark room watching Game 7. And now the Knicks have home court advantage as a result. So I should be happy, and we have experience. The Knicks have experience against Joel Embiid with Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. This is not the same front line that you're going to be playing in Boston. And those fans who were chanting, "We want Boston," those Philly fans have to be, oh, I just saw another one fly over my home. They're just like in a euphoric state of that scene from Anchorman where Will Ferrell finally hooks up with Christina Applegate. $13 of 49. Oh, good point. Let me take a break to pull up the box score of this. We have 2 more Game 7s tomorrow. All right, here we go. Why can't this just be easy? Why won't it's just not letting? Okay. I'm not going to get mad. Guys, I get really mad sometimes when technology fails. I'm using a new computer and it's been very good to me, so I'm not going to get mad. Okay. Celtic shot chart. 13 of, look at these guys. This is why I was so like adamant at the beginning of the show that the Celtic style is, look at all of these open threes out of the corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just in the corners alone, they went 1 of 9. And all of those are just wide open, man. The Celtics never miss those ever, 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 unless they are under this much pressure. Relying on a jump shot with this much pressure is just not sustainable. And that was proven once again tonight. Okay. Can you guys see that this was okay? My silence, people, is me just reading your chats. So give me a second. Zoom says they kept us. Sorry, no. Celtics were it's the same. Does anyone have any questions? It's fine if you comment. I encourage it. I'm not going to be responding to anything that's not, of substance or inquisitive. Like VJ the Rook was ice cold. Man, you want to talk about someone that lived up to that moment as if he's been out there before. Joel Embiid finally gets a Game 7 victory. The 76ers, for the first time, come back down 3-1. Celtics, for the first time in their history, blow a 3-1 lead. This is coming off of a historic beatdown in Atlanta, a historic cold streak with the Orlando Magic yesterday with 23 missed shots. These playoffs, man, every day is just something crazy and unprecedented. This is as good as it gets. I hope y'all are enjoying it. And it feels so damn gratifying that we get paid off like this after the regular season that we just had. I'm catching up here. This is just the first round. This is May. Can someone tell me, are there any quotes from Missoula? Because I assume it's been long enough now that they've spoken at the post-game press conference. Can someone please, I'm sure it's out there. Does he have any explanations? And don't troll me because I'm going to have to review it anyway. Someone trustworthy, put it in the chat if you see anything that's newsworthy. Oh, Rita in the chat said, have a backup plan when the threes don't drop. Yeah, I mean, they went down with the ship tonight, didn't they? Is OG guarding Embiid or is it Cat? No, it's Cat and Mitchell Robinson for sure. The difference between the Knicks and everyone else is we have 12 fouls. Well, the Pistons have 12 fouls too, with Beef Stew and Jalen Dern. But yeah, you're going to see Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson. And Embiid's one of his favorite missions is always Mitchell Robinson. He loves trying to get him out of the game, man, because Mitchell Robinson is susceptible to a lot of that baiting and pump faking. He'll bite, he'll get you just enough in the air, and then he's like, get Mitch out of here. But he knows he does that on purpose because he knows Mitch has the size and the wingspan to be able to really affect him. So that'll be a really fun chess match in a game of cat and mouse. Oh, did I just create wait, because Cat's on the floor. Pun intended, I guess. Boston shot 49 of 179 from 3 in this series for 27.3%. And I'm sure that last game brought the percentage way down. A Bear says, wow, I barely watched the regular season. Summarize why you say after this season in one sentence. That it's just a completely different sport and product. What you're watching right now is basketball in its purest form. I think it's the game at its absolute best. And in the regular season, whether it's apathetic defenses, it's stars not being on the floor, low stakes, how physicality is enforced. I'm going to have to repeat myself again just because there's obviously a new audience in here with this show being a little earlier. But something I did learn before the playoffs began is how the officials executives told their union how to officiate these playoffs. There was a memo that did go out that they are going to be graded based on the calls that they do make, not the ones that they don't. Now, if you've ever taken the SATs before, any tutor or guidance counselor will tell you if you don't know the answer to the question, just skip it. At least that was the case when I was a student. Just skip it because that score will not work against you. So what you are seeing is referees only blowing the whistle when they are completely sure with conviction that a violation has occurred. If it's close, they're just letting the shit go. And that's contributing to this open flow that is so contrary to the regular season, where the rule book is enforced much more literally. Any sort of contact. And they're doing that on purpose because they're trying to preserve stars and make sure these guys don't get hurt. And they want to incentivize offense for their gambling partners and like all this shit. It's a completely different, they want to incentivize offense too for fantasy. And when I say they want to incentivize as well as prioritize offense during the regular season, that's just not the case here in the playoffs. So this is a different product and sport than the regular season is. Oh, thank you to YouTube chat. So Joe Mazzulla with some interesting comments on duality and how to navigate blowing a 3-1 lead. The year we won, I felt just as empty as I did when we lost. Joe Mazzulla was asked if the Celtics relied on too many threes. No, I love the looks that we got. I love the process that we had. Okay, fair, because that certainly was what he was willing to go down executing, playing, and doing. Zoom in the chat says, Cat making the same foul 60 feet away from the basket's going to have Wob tossing his hat out the window. Cat's been around long enough to know that Embiid is really going to do his best to get him out of the game as soon as possible. And considering that Karl Anthony Towns has not been integrated into the offense even during the Hawks series until practically the third quarter, if he gets Cat out of the game, Cat's going to be playing just second halves. So yeah, Cat has been susceptible to a lot of those, or prone to a lot of those stupid foul moments. And I hope he has learned enough by now that his presence on the floor is essential, because Mitchell Robinson will certainly be using all 6 of his. Oh, God, what a game. How long did I just yap for? 42 minutes and 33 seconds. Is this what people with podcasts do? The difference is I didn't prepare any of this. This is all just the shit that I saw. Max, talk to me, chat, about Maxey, Embiid. What do you take away from this one with those efforts? And Embiid got rolled up. His knee got rolled up on how many fucking times? How many times are we going to watch Joel Embiid, someone crash into that knee? His leg is just going to detach from his body after enough of these blows. The guy just did he look like someone who just had appendectomy surgery? Do the Sixers make me nervous? Of course, the Knicks and Sixers have extensive experience. They see each other at least 4 times a year. They're going to want revenge for how Knicks fans went down to Philadelphia. They walked down I-95 like a horde of zombies out of The Walking Dead, pissed on their statues outside of their arena, and took over that place. Are you kidding me? Of course, this is their chance for redemption. Tyrese Maxey now. Okay, let's do a little prisoner of the moment. I'm up for doing a little prisoner of the moment. For the most part, I like to be emotional in the moment, but I wouldn't consider it hyperbole. Let's do a little hyperbole now. How many guards do you want closing out for your team before Tyrese Maxey in the NBA 2026 as of this moment? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, Brunson. We're going to find out. Him and Brunson feel like they're tied for third. Who else am I missing? Like Halliburton. What does Halliburton look like when he comes back? Kyrie's old. Devin Booker, no. Kawhi doesn't count. I'm talking point guards. Like Luka. I don't know if Luka counts as a point guard. Point guards here. Lead guards. Okay, chat wants me to say Luka. Okay. Because Luka's on the ball so much, we'll go Luka, yes. Just put Luka there. Would you rather have Anthony Edwards or Tyrese Maxey closing out game 7 of a playoff game right now? That's a tough one. It's not many people I'm taking before Tyrese Maxey. That dude's ability to separate and create, he's so fast that you have to practically go into drop coverage or start backpedaling before he touches the ball. And if you do, he'll do the little crossover step back and his jumper is so fucking wet. Oh, Cade. Would you guys rather have Cade or Maxey closing? There's a really good one. So for me, it's Shea. God, would I take Cade and his size over Maxey? Oh, that's a tough one. For me, Cade, Maxey, and Brunson are in that second tier behind Luka, Steph, and Shea. Is that a fair? Is Chad okay with that? I think that's fair. But that second tier is like way above everyone else. Maxey is incredible. That's what makes that series with James Harden against the Heat so frustrating. Is Tyrese Maxey is so respectful of the hierarchy, veteran experience, watching him just stand over there and let Harden like cook and dribble the city of Philadelphia into the abyss like he always does. Watch, oh shit, scored. How many points did he score for the Clippers in that game 7 last year? Watch what he's about to do tomorrow. And you got Maxey over there like, you got this, bro. I'm not trying to step on anybody's shoes around here. And then he has slowly, authentically built enough equity with Joel Embiid in this fan base that I'm the fucking guy around here. Paul George was brought in to be exactly what Maxey is doing right now. You didn't pay Paul George a max contract to just stand over there and be Mr. Catch and Shoot with Kelly Oubre. But Maxey has earned this right to be, get the fuck out of my way. Carlos in the chat says that 55 lefty, Baylor Shireman is who you're referencing. That 55 lefty was exposed like a dog. Who the fuck can stay in front of Tyrese Maxey? Nobody. Nobody. Not with the rules in today's NBA. You have to cheat to stay in front of him. And because he's not a guy, like, you know whose first step was amazing? Rajon Rondo. Rondo's first step was almost unguardable, but the difference was nobody respected his outside jump shot, so they were always cheating off of him to prevent his ability to get to the rim. And because Rondo was such a good passer, by you cheating off, now I have unobstructed views of the entire court. My vision is unobstructed. So now you think you're winning because you're like disrespecting me or something, but he always found a way to make the most of his space. The difference is Tyrese Maxey makes you pay every time that you cheat in advance. Oh, yeah, don't get your hopes up for a Harden legacy game. Wayne says, man, I love homegrown talent. Isn't it great? And this is why the heel turn that the Warriors dynasty took when they brought in Kevin Durant, because Clay, Draymond, and Steph, homegrown guys. There's something cool about that. Even if you don't like the franchise, you can still not like them, but you have to respect what they've built. There's something always very honorable, notable, valiant about it. But when you bring in a mercenary, right, it's like, oh, now I got a real reason to hate him. And they've just, yeah, I get your point there. Some homegrown talent in Tyrese Maxey, who a couple of years ago, everyone was kind of looking around like, should we say the quiet part out loud? This should be Maxey's team, but it's not. When is it going to be Maxey's team? It's Maxey's team now. Joel Embiid is still Joel Embiid, but it's Maxey's team. This is like when we were saying Nikola Jokic was the best basketball player in the world until this most recent series, and then Shea was the MVP. There's two different belts to be had. Like, this is Maxi's team, but Joel Embiid is still Joel Embiid. Thank you, King Bayo in the chat. Missoula was asked in the four games they've lost, they were below 30% from three-point and a lot of missed shots down the stretch of game 5 and 7. If the Celtics were too reliant on jump shots falling in the series, Missoula said no. And they did a great job reading the 2-on-1 and taking what the defense gave them. And in the other games, they lost the other team's shots over. Wait, I think you made a typo there. They lost the other team's shots over 38% from three and said, you got to make shots. You have to be able to do something we've done, something we do well, and we just didn't. Okay, so Missoula's going down with, I'm pleased with the process. The results did not follow. But I am afraid that the process is, once again, pun intended, because of who you're going up against, but your process has now failed. You are willing to deal with some of these results that did not live up to anticipation or expectation, but now that you've lost the series, the process has failed. Oh, Dennis Schroeder has a quick first step, yeah. Ryland's World says, all right, Wab, I will finish the rest of this later. It's time for another Game 7. Devil Wears Prada 2. Anne Hathaway. If you missed the show last night, she's permanently on my hall pass list for the rest of my life. Hall pass list. The 3 celebrities you get to hook up with if you're married. Anne Hathaway, Elizabeth Hurley, Carmen Electra. Anyway, sorry to drop that in there, but you brought up The Devil Wears Prada, and I will watch anything with Anne Hathaway in it. I can't wait to see it myself. Anything else, chat? A police chase would help. I was thinking about going out and playing poker tonight. Or I could sit at home and wait for chases. YouTube got a chat here that says the Celtics are the first team to have 3 different starters. Luka Garza, Baylor Shireman, Ron Harper Jr. with 0 points in a playoff game since starters were first tracked in 1970-71. That was a roll of the dice that did not work. It's probably for the best that I don't gamble. I'll just sit at home and watch Friends and Neighbors. Game 7s breed Game 7s. You know ball here in YouTube chat. CUP reg. What's up, Miss Becky? Long time. Can't believe you had to explain the Operation game. Miss Becky, kids don't know about that. Wait, what human being that is 27 years or younger played Operation as a kid? That was some shit from the 80s and 90s. But I'm glad you appreciated it. Chase says, what's your thoughts on Atkinson in Cleveland? Great regular season coach. He's had some very questionable rotations this year. We'll talk tomorrow. Talk to me tomorrow. Come on. Maxi's going to have Brunson doing the Macarena out there. Well, so did CJ McCollum. Had that work out. If you're looking for a prediction, Nixon, go Nixon 6. I just don't think Joel Embiid will play in 100% of the games in the series. They'll get destroyed in the games that he doesn't. The Knicks closed him out in Philly last time. It did require some Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo clutch fucking shots, like once in a series shots. But we have too much for Embiid. We have Cat and the Block Nest Monster. And we have home court. You're walking into the Devil's Den. I mean, things are lining up here. If the Magic can somehow find a way to beat the Pistons, the Knicks are going to make the finals. Yeah. But got some work to take care of. I like this question in the chat that keeps coming up, this time from Yayo. How good of a coach do you think Missoula is? Like he won a championship. What are we saying about Nikola Jokic then? I'm going to ask that same question. What do I think about Nikola Jokic as a player? Like he's a 3-time MVP with a ring. What do you think about Giannis? He's only won once. These are all-time great players just because they don't win every season. You can't take that shit away from them. Joe Mazzulla obviously knows ball to a level that even 29 other teams of professional basketball players, active or former, were not able to match his tactics. If he's guilty of anything, it's riding out a system in 2026 that no longer has the same potency that it did just a couple of years ago. That's all he's guilty of. But winning multiple championships is a rarity for a reason. Roster turnover. This is a Celtics team that was supposed to be having a gap year, by the way, because they were stripping down for parts with the ownership change, trying to get underneath the second apron. This was a team that was like, if we make the playoffs, we'll be happy. Jason Tatum probably wouldn't have even come back if this team stunk. In a vacuum, like what they've accomplished this season is incredibly notable. And it was so notable that we had championship expectations for them again. Oh, and Isaiah Hartenstein had some huge rebounds in that. Boy, did he ever. Do I think it's a problem that he can't adjust? It's not that he can't adjust, but you need failure to prove that your system and your process is no longer valid. And that's what happened tonight. I would be more upset if he continues to trot this team out there next year doing the same exact shit. That would be like, now you haven't learned. But if he comes back next season and we see a whole different offensive philosophy with different tactics, I would give him credit for that. I know it's easy right now to say Missoula's a clown for doing that starting lineup and this shit clearly doesn't work anymore. I don't think you can truly judge him as a coach until you see how he continues to transform or evolve around what's going to happen next. YouTube chat. Cameron in the YouTube chat. Wow, would you have taken Zach Lowe's spot in the show? I tweeted this. Did you ask that? Because I tweeted this out from my burner earlier today. So I originally got offered that role, but I couldn't take it because it was filmed during the 2025 finals, and I had SiriusXM commitments. I couldn't like tell SiriusXM, hey, I got to take a couple of days off during the finals so that I can go film a scene with OG Anunoby and your friends and neighbors. I would have been fired on the spot. And I would have had to travel. So they brought in talent that was in New York. That was the answer there. But I do appreciate them for at least asking. That's now twice in my career I've had to be left out of a prominent role in either TV or movie. The first was Uncut Gems. I was supposed to be in that scene in the fucking gym when they're walking through getting shots up. Annoying, but I was auditioning for something with NBA TV and TNT that weekend that I couldn't miss. So too bad. But the Safdies still good in my book. What roster change should Boston make? I don't even know what their books look like. Boston Celtics salaries. Let's take a look. How does this look? Let's see. Beautiful. All right. I don't think you guys can see that if you're on a mobile phone right now. So why don't I make it a little bigger? Okay. What do we got here? Jason Tatum, 58.5. Jaylen Brown, 57. Derek White, 30.3. Vooch comes off the books. Thank the Lord. There's $21 million at your disposal. Sam Hauser, very good contract. Peyton Pritchard, my God, probably the best bang for your buck in the NBA right there. Ugo Gonzalez, still on his rookie deal. I think that's a rookie deal. Shireman, rookie deal. Garza, 2.8. Their books are super clean, guys. Tatum and Brown making that amount of money is fine, considering they're the two most important players and they're the highest usage. I love these books. They got plenty of flexibility. And then, Vooch and the 21 mil coming off is like godsend. So they're only really going to be on tap for 58, 57 is 115 plus 30 is 145. Let's call it 156 plus 7 is 163. They're going to be just below the first apron. They'll have access to their mid-level. I don't know what their draft pick status is off the top of my head, but these are rather clean books as far as I'm concerned. Their top three players are their three most important. Yeah, Celtics' future looks bright here. I'm also curious. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Do we have advanced analytics for this game? We do. Ooh. Ooh. Wait, can you guys see what I'm seeing? Ooh. Let me zoom in on this. Let's take a look at some of these usage percentages, huh? We're definitely going to go see. What did Joel Embiid's usage percentage look like tonight? Any guesses? 37.6. Ooh. Do you guys know what this means? Oh my God. 37.6 for Embiid. That is well over the Westbrook line. Those of you that don't know, I compare usage percentage to Russell Westbrook's triple-double campaign with the Washington Wizards, which was hovering around, 32 to 34%. 37.6 means well above 1/3 of the possessions, including the ones that he's not even on the floor for, involve him as the assister, scorer, shot taker. That is as high as it gets, people. Joel Embiid, 2026, 39 minutes played after an appendectomy and all those knee injuries. You cannot hate on that man tonight. I'm sorry. Now for the Celtics. Jaylen Brown's usage percentage had to be close, right? It had to be 34.4. That is also very high. Look at these starter net ratings. Oh my God. Nice job, Ron Harper. Minus 70 in 4 minutes. That was like Garza and Harper. Granted, the sample size is, you can't ever use this in a legitimate argument, but minus 70 and minus 77 net ratings in 4 and 8.5 minutes. That is legitimately unplayable. And the ridiculous analogy that I used earlier in the show, when college teams against their rivals will send out the seniors who are going to be future accountants, what happens in the first 2 minutes going up against NBA players, and you got to call timeout to get them out of the game. That's what happened, but in the NBA. Maxi's at the podium. I'm pretty sure Get Brain Trust that usage percentage does include plays in which the player is not on the floor for. I need someone actually to look that up. It's one of those advanced analytics that's very vague when you look it up, the exact definitions on Basketball Reference. But there has to be an official definition somewhere on the NBA page, you would think. I think they try to do a rough prorate of minutes and possessions. Okay, well, that would be news to me, Kenneth. I've always assumed that it's the total possessions, including when they're not on the floor. My point still stands, but obviously that would mean he was used less than that extreme outlier that I referenced. Any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to get back to it. Knicks in 6. They will for as much flack as I caught for speaking with conviction that the Denver Nuggets were going to come back, for every wrong answer or for every wrong hypothesis I've stated, there's been one that I've nailed exactly. I had the Knicks in 6 over the Hawks, and they would win the rebounding battle every single game, which they did. I'm going to go Knicks in 6. I think I know my team quite well. Knicks in 6 over the Sixers. They win in Philly yet again. And I need to make a separate proclamation to this. You know what? Oh, here's one. I don't think Karl Anthony Towns will foul out of a single game. That's a big one. I think Cat will manage his fouls to not foul out of a single game. Knicks in 6 plus the Cat bonus. Kenneth confirmed that they take player minutes into account on usage rate. Only player minutes. Only or on and off. Is it on or off or on and off? It is confirmed prorated. Okay, fair enough. What's up, Manzo? Question: who decides what players are interviewed between quarters and or halftime? Does the team have to approve? Yes. So every one of these NBA teams has a lead PR person who is usually sitting right next to the bench. And when you do national broadcasts, NBC, Disney, and Amazon have the right to be able to interview a player from the team. And it's usually the relationship between whoever's working the truck for the network is communicating with the PR person that, hey, who are you going to get for us for our segment? And it's not always like LeBron or Steph. Sometimes, like we saw OG give the interview the other day. It could be just a starter, but that is usually a collaboration, but it is a requirement. Yes, they have to be made available. And it's also why PR, this is one of my favorite things to watch. When there is an incredibly emotional finish, let's say RJ Barrett hitting that shot, let's say that was a buzzer beater instead of with still a second left. And they're going to swamp him. He's going to go into the crowd and he's going to stand up on the scorer's table. And just because I know most of the PR people in the NBA, watching them try and navigate, because it's their job to make sure that the broadcast network gets their interview. This is what we pay for. And if you don't deliver that player to the camera, those people get fired. Like, that's your one job. So watching the PR people like follow the person around and practically grab them by the shorts and say, you have to go give the interview. You have to. Otherwise, team will get fined. You'll get fined. I'll get fired. They are always lurking and setting up a wall to make sure that player can't get into the tunnel before they give an interview. Sometimes the younger players will forget and they're just all sorts of emotional and have to turn around and stuff. But one of my favorite little inside baseball things to watch is some of my favorite PR people scrambling in their nice shoes in the middle of the madness, trying to make sure that the broadcast networks get their guarantee. Tom wants me to give a Game 7 prediction for tomorrow. Man, I really think the Cavs are going to blow it. Even without Ingram. I can't trust Harden. He's so bad. So stationary. I'll go Raptors and Pistons. Huh? So why did they go to this instead of interviewing coaches? Because the entire world complained that the coaches' interviews were absurdly boring. And they requested to the NBA to make it a change and do it with players instead, because the coaches are never going to give anything of substance. And they always give the Greg Popovich type of answers. We just need to play harder. We need to get back on defense. Like, great, thanks for the insight. Let's get back to the action. Not a single time has one of those interviews ever resulted in content unless it's Popovich trolling a reporter. Donovan Mitchell has been part of some legendary playoff chokes, but he's also been a part of a lot of legendary performances. Yeah. Problem is he's being defended by Colin Murray Boyles right now, who's turning into like him and Scotty Barnes out there, man. Think of if you had two Ed Reeds in their primes on the same Ravens team. Free safety, strong safety, Ed Reed. Like those guys are so versatile. They can switch everything. When it's Scotty Barnes and CMB out there, they just switch between each other. You get rid of us, you get a final boss, you get someone who's even worse. And CMB has been taking on that Donovan Mitchell assignment, and he is thriving. Good point. Sen Owen in the chat said, why interview anyone at all? Just interview them after the game? I agree. I don't think we need an interview at all whatsoever. And you interview OG, who's like the quietest person in the world. Jalen is one of the worst interviews, Jalen Brunson. He'll never give an interview. That he's like an inside joke kind of guy too, and how him and Josh Hart are always messing with each other. He says few words. He's always like stoic or monotone. The worst interview. Luka's terrible. Jokic is terrible. The only good interview, honestly, is Draymond. Joel Embiid sometimes, but yeah, you rarely get an interview that's like, oh, I appreciate the wisdom of which they just shared with me. The player interviews are just as bad, but it's not as bad as a coach. Like a coach feels like a waste of time. At least if there's a player on there, you get some insight that resonates with the mainstream audience. And it's a great interview. Yes. Sorry. There's more. Harden does have a chance to quit the game 7. No, he doesn't. Even if James Harden went for 70, 10, and 10 tomorrow in a victory, he's going up against a decade's worth of sample size that suggests he is one of the least favorable players to have on a roster in a game 7. I will never forget about what Jonathan Simmons did to him in San Antonio back in the 2010s. From that moment on, I'm like, you will never, ever get my vote of confidence for the rest of my, and boy, have I been proven right. What will be the ramifications if the Cavs lose? Pressure on Spida and Atkinson. I mean, they're going to dismantle that team considering how far into the apron they are. That team will get blown to smithereens if they lose tomorrow. It'll be a complete dismantling of everyone but Evan Mobley. Even then, they're going to try and call Milwaukee to swap Mobley for Giannis. And Evan Mobley, they can't shoot free throws right now. Thank God he's making his threes, but yeah, LeBron's post-game interviews are great. I wouldn't say his in-game interviews. He would ever reveal something like, why would I tell you what our tactics are? Yeah, Wemby's a great interview post-game. There's just no player that's going to give you something in-game unless it's some shit talking. Ant and Draymond are good for that. All right. An hour and 13 minutes and 30 seconds. The 18,000 of you in here that have watched this stream on Twitter, I appreciate all of you taking the time tonight. Unless you have any other questions, I may go and do something with my Saturday night. What's next for Houston? Trading Kevin Durant. That's what's next. Last call. I'm going to flick the lights like a last call at the bar. I gave you my Knicks Sixers prediction will be Knicks in 6. The Eastern Conference could potentially be running through New York, depending on what happens tomorrow. Did I have any derby action other than just pennies on the Japanese horse? Who was winning? He was winning the race all the way until the final turn, and then he ran out of steam. But nothing crazy. Okay, now you guys are asking about golf. Yes, no, it's a 5-5 cash game, not 2-5-10. I prefer 2-5-10 over 5-5, but I like 5-5, especially with PLO in play. What am I going to do with my Saturday night? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to scroll Twitter for a little bit and then figure that out. Until next time, my friends, appreciate you all stopping by. 2 Game 7s tomorrow. Probably won't go live unless I got a dinner plans with Mrs. Wob after the second game ends. So unless some crazy, crazy shit happens, I will not be interrupting those plans. So do not anticipate another stream tomorrow unless it's a drop everything type of event. But guys, go enjoy your Saturday night. Maybe we'll get a chase. I'm out of here. Late night with Wob. See you guys on the other side.